Luke, thank you so much for your time this morning. Twin Peaks, as we've just said, was David Lynch's most well-known work. Now, to the horror of most of my colleagues here this morning, I had never seen it. So can you take us through just how much of a phenomenon it was initially and then again in the more recent iteration?
That is surprising, but yeah, as the report said, Twin Peaks really was like a pop culture phenomenon when the first season premiered in 1990. It sort of raised a question, famously, who killed Laura Palmer, which is probably the most famous question posed on TV since who shot JR, sorry. And it really was a phenomenon, as you said. It kind of inspired prestige TV. It was the first kind of instance of a renowned director going into television, and it really transformed that landscape. And it was a pop culture phenomenon. It was kind of a blend of 50s melodrama with sort of teen soap opera and surrealist film. It famously kind of bombed in its second season when they revealed the answer to who killed Laura Palmer. No spoilers, 30 whatever years later. And then, of course, inspired a 25 years later sequel, Twin Peaks: The Return, in 2017, which was widely regarded by critics as pretty much a masterpiece. So, yeah, hard to sum up. Very sad day for the film world and the art world, really, and the music world and just the world of pop culture.
Absolutely. Can you take us through some of his other well-known work as well?
Yeah, I mean, Lynch's first film was Eraserhead in 1977, which is a very famous cult film. He, of course, as you mentioned, was nominated for an Oscar for The Elephant Man, which saw him sort of emerge onto the world scene. He was famously the director of the first Dune, which was a bomb. He was initially offered before that to direct Return of the Jedi by George Lucas, which he turned down. So he wasn't a blockbuster filmmaker, but he was, I would say, barring maybe Steven Spielberg and Martin Scorsese, like probably the most important and influential American director of the last 50 years. His other films, he's most noted for are Blue Velvet, which is an art house classic starring Isabella Rossellini and David Lynch, that really pioneered that sort of theme of the darkness behind suburbia. So Lynch, and then, of course, he went on to Wild at Heart, which won the Palme d'Or, Lost Highway, Inland Empire, and Mulholland Drive, which is, often cited by critics as one of the greatest films of the 21st century. Hard to sum up. It's sort of a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely difficult to summarise. But how do you think he'll be remembered? What is the legacy that he leaves behind?
I mean, I think Lynch's legacy is pretty massive. I mean, he's not just influential in terms of film. He was also a painter. He was a musician. He famously collaborated with Angelo Badalamenti, his Twin Peaks soundtrack composer, on a lot of music. He really was influential not just in cinema, but in the art world, in the music world, in the sort of fashion world even. The synonym, the adjective Lynchian is often applied to films that have a certain surrealism or darkness to be very reductive about it. But he really was sort of a massive influence on so many generations of filmmakers. And as I said, not just filmmakers, but artists, musicians, fashion designers.
There's been a huge outpouring of love from Hollywood and the like. Can you take me through some of the tributes that have been shared so far this morning?
I've just been inundated with messages from friends, so I haven't had a chance to actually look at some of the tributes, but I'm sure there are many out there. I did catch Ringo Starr, shouting out David Lynch. I mean, he was sort of famously a close friend of Lynch because they both practiced transcendental meditation, which is something that Lynch was into for many, many, many years. It's something that I think also contributed to the kind of singular understanding that his films had of the psychic terrain of the subconscious, and also their incredible tenderness and what I would say is their hope, which is something that's often overlooked. When people talk about Lynch's films, they have to talk about the violence and the darkness, and they are very compelling in those respects. But he was also, his films transcended that, and I guess to simplify it, he really saw or was able to intuit the darkness that comes, the light that comes with the darkness of, human existence.
Luke
to put it
Goodsell.
very simply.
Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Melissa.